now. Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to today's session organized by Vodan Africa, and my name is Putu Hadi. So today we will have a regular meeting with. I will put the agenda on the chat box. Wait a minute. But before that, after this meeting will be there will be a demo about from the Andrea, but maybe Eric can describe a bit about that later. But now, before we start the meeting, please turn off your mic, and then if you have any question, you can raise your hand. And now I will hand over to you, Prof. Miriam, to start the meeting. The floor is yours.
It's Professor Francisca.
Yeah, the floor is yours, Prof. Francisca.
Thank you very much, Putu. I warmly welcome everyone to today's meeting, and thank you for always making it regularly to our Tuesday technical meetings and reporting meetings. As Putu had said, we are going to have a couple of feedback and report from the technical groups. And of course, we have a demo by Eric slated for later after our meeting. Like Professor Miriam is going for a meeting, and we hope that we'll be able to wrap up everything within the hour to allow those who have another meeting to proceed. We have in the agenda, as put in the chat room by Putu, that will take an update on the bulk inputs from Samson and Getu. Samson and Getu, if you'd like to share your screen, Putu perhaps you make them co-host as well.
But sorry, Francesca, can I make a comment on the agenda? We had a meeting yesterday with the country coordinators. I mean, as a general thing, we had asked to start these meetings with the timeline. And I would like to first of all note that we were going to have the second pilot in January. And I would also like to then observe that it is the 22nd of February. So I feel not very secure in where we are going. And yesterday, there were at least a number of observations that were made. First is that the group of the core technical group seems to be laying more or less still. The only thing that I understood was that there had been a revision of templates of the Uganda group 1 templates. So I think we should have an update on that. Secondly, I heard from Samson that he had done a check on the current image, and that he was concerned about gaps, technical gaps in the whole of the software as it now stands. So I would like to also have a reading of that and what it is and how we are going to move forward on that. And the third element is that there is concern expressed very regularly about the lack of documentation and code on the progress. And that has been discussed with Olawolo. Olawolo said it was shared with Aliyah, but yesterday it wasn't clear to me from what Aliyah said that she had it. So is this on GitHub? Is this on, where is this? And only when those three things are sorted out, do I think that we are ready, that we can discuss the other things like Andrea and whatever. We have had to postpone the steering committee with 3 weeks because we're not ready. I would like to state here that that is coming at a cost, because we really need to provide confidence with all of our partners that we are actually delivering. So I think that we need to have clarity from the technical team where we stand. I would like to have a report on what the timeline is, why we have not been able to deliver the second pilot yet, what the situation is around the documentation of the coding prepared for the new image. Francesca, is it possible to get clarification on these 3 points?
Prof. Francisca?
Yes, we're trying to reach Oluwale to see if he can come on the call, because we agreed that he will make a presentation on the technical side, but Ezra is here and so is Mariam. So I guess Ezra will go first and perhaps Mariam can also follow. Ezra, please, you can unmute and speak.
Thank you, Prof. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Just to note Professor Miriam's points, if I got them well. One was about source code documentation. The other possibly was why the second pilot hasn't yet taken place, probably due to the technical reasons. I'm going to talk about that. And I'm not sure if I got the third. I don't know if it was about the gaps in the images identified by Samson or something like that. But
so sorry to interrupt, Ezra. Yes. So my points are 4. Yes. That there is no confidence that we have clarity about the documentation and how we are organizing this, and whether this is actually being implemented. The documentation as related to the code. The second is that we are unclear about any progress on the second pilot, and why is this so? The third is, do we have gaps in the architecture? And if so, what are these? And have they been inventorized? Because I was having no comfort in Samson flagging that yesterday. Apparently it seems that we are not confident on that. And then the fourth one being the timeline, and that I really wanted to note the sense of urgency, because by now we have disbursed all the funding and the contract for the deployment. And I am very nervous that we don't have a successful second pilot yet, and that I really am not very clear on where we are going, and that the teams are confident in what they are supposed to do. And we should not be here wasting our time going over stories again and again and again. We should have clear direction in what we are trying to achieve. So the 4 points are: what is happening in relation to the documentation, what is happening in relation to the pilot that was supposed to be conducted in January. The third issue is, are there gaps? What are the observations that Samson was making? Why was he making them? How are we going to address them if they are there? And the fourth is, do we have a timeline with which we are working? And what is that timeline? And is that a meaningful timeline in seeing that we have already superseded the second pilot with more than 1 month? Those are my 4 issues.
Thank you, Prof. I'm going to answer each of these from a technical perspective that I'm currently responsible for. First of all, talk about the documentation of the source code. So apparently we had agreed that we are going to send out images to all the template group facilities, and that the images are going to be compiled here with us between me and Oluwale, so that we can save people all the tedious work. So we're planning to send out an image that has CIDR running, that has a local dashboard running, probably that also has capability to import templates as provided by Samson and Getu. So as you realize, Samson's solution only was made public last week, is it? So that is one. And the other two about documentation is that it depends on providing the source code. Wanted to provide a complete solution. You realize that, just to give an update first, that the dashboard for the 3 different groups has been achieved, I would say, by 80%, because the case for the first template group, that is Uganda, has been achieved 100%. It's ready for deployment. Then the other template groups, you have the COVID and MCH templates ready, connected to the dashboard, and they're also ready, only waiting for the OPD register, that is Nigeria and Kenya. The reason why those 2 countries or those 2 template groups have delayed is that in the previous meeting, you made me and Alia responsible for quality control. When we went to test drive some of these templates, they were not meeting the standards. You will find a field that requires you to select yes and no. When it is accepting both the yes and no, there's no way we would proceed to have such a template connected to the dashboard, because that would be, it would, I'm not sure the kind of data we would be collecting. So I had to call back to Mariam and, to get the responsible people to have this rectified. Otherwise, that is the only thing holding up the 2 template groups, I should say. And I think Mariam has taken care of Kenya the whole of last night, and she had to create an entirely new set of ontologies for the case of Nigeria, so that the template group, the OPD register, could be linked to control terms. And that takes probably 2 odd days for the terms to reflect in Bioportal. So some of the things that are working against us are really out of our control. Initially, we had technical challenges of connecting Bioportal to SIDA. When you add ontologies in Bioportal, it's going to take another 2 or 48 hours for them to reflect back in SIDA. So some of the things that have held us back are not because, actually, we've been burning midnight oil to have to come this far. Mariam can attest to that. We've been working throughout the night. Oluwole has been actually spending time with me so that we'll have to get this done. So, one, why the documentation is not yet there, we didn't want to share half-baked information. We wanted to share information for each template group when it is complete, because right now there is a change or 2. That is one. The next thing, why we've not piloted, maybe because this is from a technical perspective, because of the points I've given previously. The template groups are not yet ready, but I would say for each of the 3 template groups, we're 75% there. Unlike the case of Uganda, where we're 100% ready. Then for the gaps identified by Samson, I would expect him to share them, and probably we see how we can go about them, because ideally, there's always bound to be a gap. If Mariam is my witness, when Samson shared his bulk upload solution and template upload, it failed to work for the case of Uganda. We tried to get back on him, but I think he had challenges. But we found a way through what he provided, actually. It led us to a solution. So there are bound to be gaps, but they have to be shared probably, and we know them. And then, do we have a timeline? I think this should go to the country coordinators, because once in a while I've been asking Oluwole or whoever, when I get a chance, what are the timelines? What are the targets? When is the cut over dates that we are expected to deliver this and that? And I think this is not a question that I can answer from a technical perspective. Thank you, Prof. I don't know if my submissions satisfy the questions that have been stated. Thank
absolutely.
You,
yes, absolutely. And I don't think that you should be feeling that we are questioning your approach. We are just, as a team, trying to look at every aspect of everybody's work and the clarity on that, and the lack of clarity in some instances as well. And thank you for very clear report on it now. I think, Professor Francesca, how do you want to move forward with this meeting? I would like to understand, at least at some point, why the quality control on the templates was already raised in the summer. So at some point there needs to be a reflection why this quality control is coming out now as being insufficient. And this is a question for Aliyah and Mariam to reflect and see what did we learn from that process, because I was not expecting that at this point.
I think I can speak to that. I can speak to that.
Sure.
Yes, remember Aliyah and Mariam, when they were in charge of the templates and vocabularies, John had also vetted them with the ontologies and we were okay. But then by the time the technical group completed the first implementation of the dashboard, for that, they cannot connect, the templates cannot connect to the dashboard. They need to create local instances. Miriam went ahead and created the local instance for Uganda, and that worked. Then the team of Nigeria, Umar, created a local instance for Nigeria. That was where the error came in. So Miriam and Aliyah, originally for the vocabularies in CEDA, we didn't have that problem. But now we're talking about these vocabularies that are local instances. And I think Miriam is already correcting that. She's done that of Kenya, as Ezra pointed out. Now she's also redoing that of Nigeria. What I would have wanted was for her to work with the team in those countries so that anytime there are problems, we don't have to call Miriam to come from Netherlands, from Amsterdam, to come and solve a problem in Lapai or Lagos or Nairobi or Pumwani. That's what I would have wanted. But in the interest of our timeline, I think Miriam should continue with these corrections to make sure that we have the local instances in order, and then we build our dashboard. I also have that same in response to Samson's concerns. We know there will continue to be refinement. These are software, these are applications built by our own technical people. There will continue to be refinement. We have had different versions of CEDA, for example, of the image. Now, where we are, can we use the present image as is? While we now continue to address the concerns of Samson as the next level of refinement. If the present image can generate the dashboard and answer the questions that we have for both the OPD, the COVID, and then the maternal health, let us go ahead and use that. While we now address the concerns as the next phase of refinement. We continue to refine. We had very large image at some point, and then we Rudran, Oluwole, Ezra, and all of them working together, they were able to get an image that is easily deployable. So we continue to refine. Even CEDA itself is still being refined. That's why we spend months meeting with John and Alex and all of them before we're even able to get the Vodan portal ready. That will be my position on this.
Thank you, Francesca. That is clear. So I'm taking a few conclusions from this. Let me see if I'm right. First is that the procedure that should be connected to the verification data competency, that needs to have a rethink after we deploy Vodan as we go in the future to avoid these problems that occur in localization, correct? Yeah, okay. So that is something that I'm going to suggest Aliyah, Mariam, and maybe Dr. Sakinat take a note of, that we bring this back to the agenda as something that we have learned from this process, and that is a good thing. The second is that what I am distilling from the account of you and Ezra is that Mariam will be finishing that work on the groups in the next 2 or 3 days. So that would mean that then the deployment of the pilot should be ready by at least certainly this weekend. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
That should be correct, because the moment Mariam is done rewriting the Nigerian template. It's the only thing left. It's only the Nigerian OPD left because she passed on the one for Kenya yesterday, and we're already working on integrating it with the dashboard.
Okay. Can I have a confirmation of that also then from Mariam?
Yes, that's actually right. Currently, I'm just waiting for the ontologists to reflect onto the bioportal and then basically integrate them into the templates, and then the final pilot group will be ready at that point.
So that means that over the weekend, that pilot can take place. And that means that then on Tuesday next week, we can have a presentation of the pilot. Am I correct?
Sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, then we shall schedule that. Putu, please take note of that.
Yes, Prof, before we continue, I want to say to avoid any surprises or disappointment that from today, if it is possible to have from tomorrow, no, tomorrow is out because of the country coordinators and board meeting, even if it's an hour every day with the technical team of everyone, including Samson and Ketu, whatever it would take to make them available. And then Ezra, I know they want us not to disturb them to work, but it is good. I wouldn't have known there was a problem with the template for Nigeria and Kenya if I didn't have a meeting with Oluwole this afternoon. So if we can have a progress, 30 minutes, 45 minutes every day, it would be nice. If we cannot do Zoom, let us at least know on WhatsApp so that if there's a problem, if we need to intervene, we will do that before next week. I don't want us to come in next week and then we'll have surprises like this.
So, Mariam, can you take charge of that?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Good. Then on the documentation, Ezra, what is hampering you from sharing the current code already with Aliyah and actually all of the IT people on GitHub so that people can work with that? What is it? What is the problem with doing that, or there is no problem?
There is no problem at all. Only that I'm working due to my network issues. I work with a local repository and I was so comfortable uploading it when it's fully done, but I can't do that. It just takes a snap.
Okay, so that means that people can work with that, as they are also trying to pilot and work with whatever is already there, which I think certainly the team in Mekelle and also Rudwan like to do. And I think that is only there to support you work, Ezra and Mariam, of course. So if you can do that and then inform Aliyah and Dr. Francesca when that has happened, so that is, Francesca, can you make sure that Aliyah, that this is communicated to all of the IT technical experts, that they know that they can find this on GitHub to work with?
Right.
Then,
yes.
Thank you. Then in terms of the gaps, can we hear from Samson what he was alluding to? I do very much support you, Francesca, in saying that our objective here is to really have a first generation of a research-based proof of concept and not an industrial product that can be run out as a as a tool in that sense. So Samson, we need to keep in mind when we are checking what we have at the moment is that this is really a first version that will need a lot of improvement as we move forward, but which should be adequate to test the hypothesis that we had, and that is creating the data in such a way that they are interoperable and that they can be generating both the data for the local dashboards and the Vodana global dashboard through data visiting. That is the core of the hypothesis that we are testing right now. But it would be good to hear from you, Samson, because at the end of the meeting yesterday, you brought it up, but not concretized. It would be good to hear the concretization of the concerns that you have, and if they are relevant for this moment or for post-deployment period. This is for Samson.
Samson?
Mic is on. Probably something with his internet.
We are not hearing you yet, Samson or Tesfit. If we are waiting for that link to materialize, then Francesca, can we take up the last point of this block? And that is, what is a reasonable timeline now that we are working on for the deployment, so that we can also give comfort to the country coordinators? Yesterday, the meeting with the country coordinators was good. Putu, we can go through the last version of the legal document today. That and the finances have been arranged, so I think country coordinators can start moving on the purchase. So then, what seems like a realistic and reasonable timeline now for deployment, Francesca and Ezra?
Ezra, would you like to speak first? Otherwise, I have an idea.
Prof, when you talk of deployment, does that involve the time the computers are going to take to get to the destinations, or making the solution fully available regardless of it being at the intended destination?
Deployment includes the preparation of the computers and getting them to destination and testing it with data having produced in destination, yes.
Well, the timeline I'm going to give, I think, will not include the time that is required to take the computers to different destinations, because that is out of my realm. But I would say by the end of the week, that is Saturday, we should have a ready solution, the MVP as agreed earlier.
So your point being that the image you feel, but in the image you're going to have to take into account the pilot and what you find in the pilot.
I don't understand that. Please come again.
I think you are going to make an image. You said you were going to look at 3 places for the pilot this weekend. So then surely that will result in changes of the final image that will then be deployed across all of the facilities.
I still find it hard to understand. When I said 3 places, I refer to the... Okay.
Yeah, let me speak to that. Now we have the pilot, which you are working on and you're working towards, and we are saying by this weekend, we will have the pilot. The country coordinators, I know, already received the funds for the computers, and I know for Nigeria, for example, they have started sourcing for the computers. If by the weekend pilots are tested in the 3 locations, you have one in Uganda, you have one in Kenya, and one in Nigeria, and they're okay. If the countries now have their computers, if they have some of their computers, can the images be made available so that they can start deploying immediately?
By Saturday, the images should be available for deployment.
Okay, so we can say by Saturday, while we know that the pilots will be ready for presentation to this audience by Tuesday, but by Saturday, the countries should be on standby to receive the images and start deployment.
Yes.
So the country coordinators will have to be on standby so that from Saturday, they get ready to receive the final image. that will be deployed
Yes.
in the 84 health facilities.
Exactly. That should be right.
So that means we're having a kind of a parallel run. The pilot is ongoing, and then the full deployment as well commences. So maybe on Tuesday, we'll even have more than 3 successful implementations.
Hopefully.
Something is trying to come back.
Yes, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm using, yeah. I think I can start from we left it yesterday. I raised a concern in relation to integration of the work that was being done on different places. And maybe if I wasn't clear enough, Prof, or if I may have misstated what I said, I stand corrected. The dashboard and the image, I haven't had the chance to evaluate actually. The last memory I have is a good presentation that you made that I watched from the video. So I cannot say that there is a gap when in fact I have not seen it. So I think it must have been a misunderstanding somehow or in the way I said it. So if like Ezra said, if it is ready, then that is a good thing. I mean, we are on a good status in that regard, yeah, with regards to the piloting. And in fact, what I was going to present today as well, it wasn't going to be a bulk input as such because of the miscommunications and the drifting apart of the way we are integrating work. We're working from this side, from that side, and then it wasn't being used. Me and Gay2, we created a tool which in fact was going to save a lot of time to the team because of miscommunication. It wasn't used. It has been a while since what has been done is done, but it wasn't being used. It is a tool that lets you create templates that we already had created in the local instance. It creates it easily, and I'm glad that Ezra and Oluwale used it because we need to be able to work together as a team. That's what we believe from our side, and that's why we shared the code. And we know we're not saying whatever we did or whatever we're doing is absolute or but I believe we need to be sharing whatever we're doing at whatever stage it's in. And with regards to, because we were yesterday talking about roles, and I said the issue of interoperability and the issue of integration of work that's being done, and also the adherence to the specification. There is a specification that we had planned, and in relation to fairness of what we're doing, in relation to lots of things, and we need to be able to do quality check, and we need to also be able to integrate. And in fact, what I was going to present today is a work that will, I believe, will be an addition to whatever is being done. So I think if my mic is fixed, or if you give me 2-3 minutes to fix the mic, and I think I can present shortly whatever is being done, because of also the role I don't know, mismatch or whatever we might call it. We didn't know who to report somehow. So I was presenting to Aliyah, presenting to Mariam and Oluwale and Ezra, and we were having technical discussions. So it was Aliyah's idea that I present it to the team. So there are also some developments that we made after the last presentation, because most of the technical people have seen it. I'll try to make a brief demo, and then, or I think we can also make the demo in another time if we are short of time.
Okay, thank you.
Whichever
Samson.
way.
Yes, thank you. I think that is good and that is clear. And thank you for working with Aliyah on that proposal. I think that it will be good to have that demonstration, but I also want to keep pushing on what has been concluded today. I was really feeling uncertain, as you know, at the beginning of this meeting, but now I'm getting a lot of comfort because I'm hearing, and Dr. Francesca is, Professor Francesca is confirming this, that we are so close to having tested the image in the 3 locations together with a data visiting that then will test the image, that will then make it ready for deployment. That is a very good thing because this is going simultaneously with 3 other processes, which is the installation of a fair data point at LUMC, a creation of a workbench at LUMC through Andrea, both of which Aliyah is working on together with Rudwan, especially in relation to the fair data point. And then a integration of the data visiting with other programs that have verified relevant data on similar to our own, but of course with all the criteria intact that are the principles that VODAN operates on. So the production of the data and the data visiting becomes really very important. And at this moment, there also is a lot of interest from other partners. So we need to really know whether we are confident on what we can do so that we then can produce the next phase of our work. So I'm very happy with these clarifications. I would like, before I give you the floor, Samson, and please prepare that demonstration, I would like to then know so that if we have the confidence that the problems with CDAR were resolved, the problems in the localization of the vocabulary are being resolved, and therefore the new image is being produced and tested by, let's say, Tuesday next week, we will have those results. Then Putu and Frederick, your timeline in now following up with the country coordinators on the legal documents and the finances and purchase of the acquisition of the computers becomes very important because that is now the deployment that needs to follow immediately after this second pilot is finished. And Francesca, how do we coordinate the deployment? We have the country coordinators and we have Dr. Reginald who coordinates them very well. So that is working. And Putu who is really giving the support and follow up to that. Do we also need to identify the technical person who's responsible for the technical deployment, Francesca? And if so, who is this?
Yes, Prof, that has already been done. There is a spreadsheet by Mariam or Putu that identifies the technical person for each country. Mariam, yes.
And yeah, and then who is coordinating the technical deployment? So we have the technical persons per country, and I know Putu has that list, but who is coordinating them technically?
That's Mariam and Aliyah.
Sorry?
Mariam and Aliyah are coordinating the deployment for each of the location, but we have people in each country that are responsible for that. But then overall, if there are questions, they go to Mariam and Aliyah.
Okay, and Aliyah and Mariam, you understand this in the same way?
Yes, so coordinating the overall deployment, like in terms of the technical perspective, yeah.
And Mariam, you too? And are you too?
Yes.
Okay, and are both of you clear about the different roles that you and Aliyah have?
If I may speak, Prof, we do not envisage any serious problem, hopefully, in especially the three countries of Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria, because what the team of Oluwole, Rudwan, Samson, Getu, and Ezra will be giving the countries is a ready-made template for their template group. So it's just like me purchasing a license for Microsoft Office and then unpacking it on my computer. So if there are issues with linking of the templates, then Miriam Aliyah comes in. If there are issues with installation, Oluwole and Ezra and Rudwan and Samson Getu comes in.
Yeah, I understand that, Francesca, but and I also understand horizontal is very good in IT development and it works, but it is very difficult if you are in a particular health facility, you are the technical person there. I mean, and you have 6 or 7 people that you can go to. So how do we streamline this?
Oh, now I get it. It's for each country, there is one person. Like we have William for Kenya. For Nigeria, we have Elijah, I think, Dr. Abdullahi Mehel for IBBUL, and Kawu. So those ones are going to be responsible for the individual health facilities in their country. But at the top level for technical coordination, it's Miriam and Aliyah. So for example, if William has a problem, he goes to Miriam and Aliyah. If it's not within the template level, then they escalate to Ezra and Oluwole. But I am thinking that by Saturday, we should have practically eliminated any technical issues that will cause Ezra and Oluwole to be dragged in different directions. It's just going to be a simple thing of Williams now attending to Kemri or Pumwani or any of the other health facilities. Hopefully.
Okay, but then can I ask that by next week, Tuesday, the role of Mariam and Aliyah is also slightly clearer so that we know who of both of them is following up on what, and that can be clearly communicated then also to the technical leads.
All right, Prof.
I think that the way I would see it for the time being is that I understand that Aliyah is going to be working on the next iteration of the architecture. So she will need to be working on Andrea, the deployment of the all of the documentation there, also the deployment of the Vodan dashboard there, the overall dashboard. So maybe it would be reasonable that Aliyah finalizes with the team, with the whole team, the architectural integration and documentation, and that Mariam is the point 2 person for all of the technical leads that are deploying in country, if that makes sense, Francesca.
Yes, that's fine. But I think Samson has always been our architecture person. So Aliyah will also have to work with Samson as well.
I'm not following you now.
Yeah, because when we talk about the integration of our architecture, I think Samson has always been the go-to person, unless anything has changed. Even at the time of the absence, we have always had to send emails and refer to him. And of course, Rudwan also came up with the...
But it is fine if Aliyah has the lead on Andrea, and she draws on Samson and Rudwan and Oluwole and Ezra as need be. Is that not a feasible?
Yes, Prof. It is. I'm just referring to bringing in Samson as well. No, Aliyah takes the lead, but I'm adding Samson to the team. For example, he has just made some observation, which we shall see in his presentation. So it is important, now that we're going external to integrate, that all the concerns from the technical guys with respect to the architecture is taken into account.
Okay, thanks. Then can we maybe, Putu, before we go to the presentation of Samson, can we quickly hear your timeline on the follow-up of the legal documents, and also from Dr. Reginald, if he has been able maybe to take a status note on the payment and acquisition of the computers and the progress in all of the country coordinators' teams. Maybe first Putu on the legal document, and then Reginald on the readiness for deployment.
Yeah, Prof. Actually, yesterday we were finished the document, but regularly I check I will recheck it once again based on the recording, and then I will share it tomorrow with the Dr. Reginald. So just to make sure that everything is.
Yeah, if you can just send the document to me tonight, I'll go over it.
Okay.
And then you can have it back. And then, because I know what we discussed yesterday, you don't need to listen to the recording. I'll take the document, then I'll send it back to you and Dr. Reginald for further processing.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it still needs to quickly pass by KIU. And I don't know whether anybody has done any work to check with the legal person there. Probably not. So that is something that maybe needs to be still done today to get that ready.
Okay, Rob. Okay. I will send it to you.
Yeah, okay. And then Dr. Reginald?
Yes, thank you, Professor. What I know is that 3 things have been done so far by Frederick and the team to organize purchases of computers. For example, I know that we're already purchasing in Kenya. And then the following will be the deployment, the CEDA deployment, and then testing that it works, and then the agreement. So this is where we are. This is the process we are following. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, and the order should be purchase agreement signed, and then deployment. The agreement, we need agreement before anything is deployed.
Yeah, but I think it's the other way around, Professor. We buy, they see the product is there, then they sign, and then the process continues.
Yeah,
but maybe, different countries may have a different approach, but this is how I've been informed in Kenya. You see it's there, then you sign, and then the deployment.
Yeah, yeah, but we are on the same page. First signing, and then the actual deployment and data production. I think we are saying the same thing. That is fine. Can Frederick give a status update on the payments for all of the countries?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So far as all the requests that were made for computers, I processed all that. All the countries that were lined up, all of them now have the resource they need to purchase the computers, as Dr. Reginald has mentioned. And it's just, I think, maybe for Kenya, Dr. Reginald needed one more computer, which is what I will work on, in addition to starting a new process with Zimbabwe, which we had a good conversation with last week. And I think I've reached out to them afresh so that we'll be able to know how many computers they need. Thereafter, I think I should be drafting their contracts and processing their resource base so that they can be at par with the rest of the countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Frederick, can I ask you also to check with the NUFIC program countries, that is Addis Ababa and Somalia in particular, yes. But we can discuss that further bilaterally, but we need to make sure that that is also getting in order.
That's okay. I mean, I'm in contact with both countries, that is Jamal and I think we can get that worked out straight away.
Good, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, then Francesca, I think this check was very, very good and helpful. So I'll hand back over to you. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. I think we have pretty much covered everything. We'll just have Samson's presentation. We already have the update from Dr. Reginald. We'll have briefly have Samson's presentation before we close the meeting. Samson, please.
And thank you, Prof. I'll start sharing my screen. Yeah, can you see my screen? So this is the application that we've been working on from our side. What we realized as a gap is in CEDAR, it doesn't have a mechanism of exporting and importing templates. You can only share templates using share with me option. But that only works on CEDAR installations, because we've retooled CEDAR to work offline. It's not possible to share templates with our local instance. So instead of for the template groups to recreate the templates, we thought creating a template or making a possibility of copying templates from CEDAR would be a good option. So what we do is we have templates that are available in CEDAR, Stanford, and also going forward, I think as Vodan Africa, we might be creating tools that we would be using for verification. But we said having CEDAR used as a way of creating templates would be a good idea, even if we create our own templates. So what we do is we can create, for instance, here COVID templates. And then we give it some description, and then we select a place where we store the different templates. And what this system does is it creates templates that are created on the remote or on the CEDAR Stanford. It creates them on our local instances without having to go to the templates creation all over again. I think the connection is a little slow, and you are might not be following my presentation properly. But the whole idea is this create template option creates templates, and the bulk upload option uploads bulk data to CEDAR. And we've also added a new feature of or the ability to sync whatever bulk data that's available. We convert it into a fair format, and we store it in allegograph. This is the option to do that. I think because the others have already presented, I might, in the interest of time, focus on this one. What this one does is we can, for instance, the COVID data that we have collected in the last system that we were using in Vodan Africa, we could, if we wanted to verify those data, we've added that feature. For instance, here I can say COVID data. Then this one would be the URL of we have here allegograph, where you can store different triplates, and the URL would be, for instance, this one. We have Vodana URL. In the folder ID, we're also using this to push data to both to the SERA system and to the to the repository. For instance, I can upload a CSV file that I have, and then the template instance with which I upload the data needs to be there as well. So by doing this, I would be uploading the triplets to both in the bulk format, both to the allograph and to the SERA template. And if we go to allograph, we can see the triplets here. So we can select and we can run the query, and as you can see, the data are loaded here and in the SERA system as well. This is the data that for instance, we have that we uploaded from the bulk input. Yeah, the system has other features as well of having access control. The first thing would probably need to do is to adjust the setting, and we can adjust to send to the local instance or to the remote instance. These are the sorts of things that the application has, and here we set the access control. I think see some of the details in our other technical meetings, but to wrap up, what we've done so far is a mechanism to create or recreate, I would say, templates that or reuse templates. One of the idea of the project is to be able to reuse data and to reuse templates as well. So if there is a template that's already created in SERA by our team or by anyone, and if it is shareable, then we should be able to reuse that template. So the create template will help us reuse templates that are already created. This bulk upload will help us upload data that was already in our hand, and this sync to allograph will upload the bulk data to so that it can be query ready for query in allograph. This setting and this admin are features for the system to be used. If there are any questions, I can take. Otherwise, this is what I can say. So thank you very much.
That's excellent, Samson. Thank you so much. Thanks to you and Getu and the rest of your team. This is so excellent. Let's see if there are questions from the team, because now I see we are like 2 minutes over our time.
Ezra raising his hand.
Yes, Ezra. Yes, please, Ezra.
Thank you, Samson. Since you're remaining with only 2 minutes, I just wanted to point out something that happened to us when we were using the template imports. I know it might not be relevant for the meeting or for the way Prof put it in the chat, but I think we need a small technical meeting with you. We tried to get in touch with Mariam, but I think you had network challenges. and you didn't. So we wanted to put this together with the image so that if there was any need to upload a new template on a local instance, this is already part of the image. So we wanted to make sure it really works, but for some reason, after you successfully demonstrated, we tried and actually followed the recording we made and it couldn't work much as it was showing success. So maybe there's a shortcoming somewhere where we need to change a few things or work on a few things maybe. But thank you, well done. This is superb, especially for the template imports. I really appreciate. We tried to work around it by manually using some of the code that you provided and it worked, but I don't know why it doesn't work with the Laravel application that you shared, this side of ours. But thank you very much.
Right. Like Professor Miriam said, it's something we will now have to take on in the next phase of the project, since we're almost nearing the end of the pilot and the beginning of the deployment in the other health facilities. Samson, you want to respond briefly? I see your mic is off. All right, otherwise I'll hand over to you now, Putu.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Francisca. Thanks, Samson and Getu for this work. And is there any last question or feedback before I close the meeting, because it's already over time? Going once, going twice. Okay, then if there is no question anymore, so thanks everyone for the participation. And I will upload the recording on the YouTube channel, and I will upload copy paste the link to the WhatsApp group this week. And see you next week in the same meeting. Bye everyone. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.